pedals, could that be like his do now?
Yeah, that's like the warm up.
Don't worry about it. We'll get to that shortly.
You're in the gym.
So I want you to make a good diagram. I want you to compare and contrast 3D versus 3D. If you need to refresh it. For 32. All right, we're down to a little less than a minute. Okay. What are we doing today?
Good. Awesome. Amazing. Fantastic.
Let's discuss this this do now question. Abelarda, My question was, I wanted you to compare and contrast using a Venn diagram belief versus a theory, belief versus a theory. What was something you came up with in terms of belief or theory?
Don't think that's really the same about it. It's just that they're both made up by humans.
Okay, good. They're both made up by people or humans. Estefania, what is something, one or the other, a belief or a theory?
A theory, you need evidence to support your idea. Just say idea, I guess, or like what you're trying to prove. You need evidence, and for belief, you don't really need anything to back up what you're saying.
Perfect. Evidence is the key thing, right? With your theory, evidence. Let's hear what you got.
For belief, you guys have evidence to
Okay, it's a belief. So what's something else that might be considered a belief that is part of the scientific method? Royce, what's that?
Example of the belief
An example. An example of belief.
Oh, a legend or myth. Now tie it into. I want you to tie it into the scientific method. What could possibly what's part of the scientific method that could be part of a belief or would be considered a belief? Bingo, a hypothesis, right? Because that is something that we have we've decided, we've had a question about it, and then we took a stand, yes or no on it, right? And then we're trying to prove it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so we have an objective today that is going to be aligned with this standard. Okay, and the standard is analyze evidence that lithospheric plate movements have occurred. All right. So our objective today is that we're going to gather some information on a guy named Alfred Wegener, and he had a hypothesis or a belief that the continents drifted, that all the continents used to be together and now they're apart. Okay. So what our goal is today is that we're going to study that evidence that he put together to try to prove his hypothesis, and then we're going to either as a class or individually initially, and then we'll discuss it. We're either going to accept his hypothesis or reject it, and then we're going to come up with why we accept it or reject it. Okay? So what I want you to do right now is, if everybody looks underneath their little glass jar, you'll see that you have a piece of a magazine. Does everybody have it? Go ahead and pull it out, hold it up. Okay. Good. All right. So what we're going to do with this little magazine cover. Initially, what I want you to do is you and your table partner are going to make a puzzle out of it, okay? I want you to cut it up in a minimum of 6 pieces and a maximum of 15 pieces, all right? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You're going to use the scissors at your table, and you are going to cut it up in a minimum of 6 pieces, maximum of 15 pieces. When you're done, listen up, don't get started yet. When you're done, you're going to take those pieces and you're going to make a little pile of them right underneath your books. Okay, so you're going to cut them up, you're going to put them in a pile and leave them right there, and I'm going to give you direction after that. Question? Okay, so like you could cut like just 6 pieces of your sheet, and that would be a puzzle.
Yeah.
Okay, or you could cut 15 pieces, and that would be a puzzle. So 15 might be a little more difficult, it may not, etc. Okay, so you can make a jigsaw puzzle or just a small puzzle. All right, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead and cut up your puzzle.
Mine's put them like that. Let's start right here, because then everyone's gonna like see where they're gonna go. But don't bend it. No, not that. We're gonna get to there. We're doing this. We do 2 pieces and then you do the other 2 pieces.
Last one. You have a minute and 20 seconds.
I don't know what I did there. Yeah, people are gonna know how to do it. I have to cut it faster than everyone's on my phone.
You have less than a minute.
Let's see what you ended up with.
Okay, we're running out of time.
Good job.
Okay, scissors down. Or actually, scissors back in your beaker. Okay. Next thing I want you to do. This is what's going to happen. Okay, this row right here. Everybody in this row. Oscar, all the way over here to high row. You guys are going to take your puzzle pieces. You're going to turn around and you're going to set them right next to the table behind you's books. Okay? And then the table behind you, this row right here, you're going to hand them your puzzle pieces, and you're going to give it to them. All right? Once you get their puzzle pieces, I want you to attempt to put their puzzle together. Okay? This row right here, you're going to give your puzzle pieces to the table behind you, vice versa, and then you're going to work at putting your puzzle together. Okay? You have 2 minutes to complete your puzzles from your neighboring science table. Go to work.
It was pretty hard. You gave it away.
Okay, you have 1 minute left.
Nice work, guys.
Yours was so
Got it.
25 seconds. Okay, time's up. Leave your puzzles exactly the way they are. Go ahead and put your attention back up to the front of the room. Okay. Did everybody get their puzzle put together?
Yes.
You did.
They said no.
Okay. So my question that I want to ask you, I want you to think about it for a few seconds, and I'm going to call on non-volunteers is, what strategies did you use to complete your puzzle? Okay. You don't need to write anything. I just want you to think about it. Okay. Okay, I want you to discuss it with your table partners. What strategies did you guys use? Okay, all eyes on me in 3, 2, 1. I want to hear a few strategies. Royce. What was the strategy that you guys used to put your puzzle or your puzzle together?
We look to see we find like different corners.
You found what?
Corners.
You found the corners? The corners? The corners. Okay. And then you started from the corners and then matched it up from the inside or outside in. Kat, what was the strategy that you guys used?
Like if there was like a word, you just like put them together.
So you found words that matched each other, then you put them together and worked your way out from that point. Okay, good. Rose, let's hear your strategy.
First we spread them out so you can see all of them, and then we face them in the same direction so we don't connect to different places. And then, like Captain said, we put the words together so you can see.
Okay, so then you identified words that matched each other and put them together like that. Okay, last one, Bafari. Let's hear it.
We use shapes like if there was like a missing thing that was like the same shape.
So you look for the shapes that match each other? Okay, good. All right, so I want you to look at this picture here. And I want you to think of the first step of the scientific method, okay? Who can tell me what the first step of the scientific method is? Let's hear it. Observation, very good. Okay, so I want you to think of that step. And I want you to look at this, and I want you to see if you can make a connection about the activity we just did and what you're looking at right here. Okay, take a minute, think about it, talk to your table partner, and let's be prepared to discuss it. Okay? Where's some connections? Okay. If I get all eyes on me in 3, 2, 1. What was the connection between you making the puzzle and this picture right here of the Earth, the continents of the Earth? Carlos.
From the magazine, we did figure out what I was doing, trying to find the magazine, and then from that one, we just saw this picture.
You saw what?
From over there, we saw different countries.
Okay. Is there anything about those countries that seem like they might? Let's just back this up. Who else has made another connection? Let's hear your connection.
Our world is like a puzzle. There's different parts of it, like America, South America, Asia, Australia,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Rose, add to that. Yeah, come on up. Pay attention, everybody.
Look at it. It kind of looks like it kind of does go together. Like this piece is here, and if you put it together, it can be one piece that kind of.
Okay. Okay. Very good. So, I kind of agree with Rose. That piece kind of looks similar, right? Looks like it maybe this would fit in there, right? Okay. Maybe like Rose came up and showed us, maybe there too, right?
Are you serious?
Okay. Almost like maybe a puzzle,
Yeah, right there.
right?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So, I think you're on page 67, maybe
Yeah.
65. So, hold on a second. Before we go there, let's just talk about this real quick, because I want to make a point. All right? Alfred Wegener made an observation. Okay? He made an observation, and it intrigued him. All right? So his first step in the scientific method was observation. He made an observation, it intrigued him. So what's the next step in the scientific method? Hannah. Question. So he came up with a question, all right? And he came up with a question that maybe could possibly the continents might have been stuck together based on that observation, all right? And from there, he came up with a hypothesis, and his hypothesis was called continental drift. So that's going to be our topic today, and our essential question will be, should Alfred Wegener's hypothesis be accepted or rejected based on the evidence that he presented in support of his hypothesis? So take a minute and set your page up. We have 30 seconds. Who needs 15 more seconds? Okay, you got it. Okay. Next, I want you to set up the first subtopic, which is continental drift. Okay? Alfred Baker came up with a hypothesis. It was called continental drift. In order for us to look at his investigation, we need to actually know what the continental drift hypothesis stated. So, we are going to use our Changing Earth books to look at his investigation. Okay, so I want, on each table you should have a Changing Earth book, and I want you to take it out from underneath your jar, and I want you to turn to page 14. You have 30 seconds, page 14.
We're gonna base it on what you said.
Okay. Okay, so on page 14, you can see in your book, there should be right underneath the activity, it says continents join together and split apart. Does everybody see that
Yeah.
subtopic? Okay, so what I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. And you're gonna read from continents join together and split apart down to the bottom of page 14. There's 2 paragraphs there, all right? What your goal is when you're reading this is to come up with, a information about continental drift so that we know exactly what this hypothesis stated. All right? Any questions on what my expectation is? Okay, go to work. 2 minutes. When you're done reading, I want you to write down the definition or the information that is pertinent for this subtopic. So you have a minute left. Probably a good time to start writing your definition of what continental drift is. All right, 20 seconds. Who needs 15 more seconds? Okay. wrap it up in 10 seconds. Be prepared to share out. Okay, let's put our pencils down, all eyes on me, and let's talk about this. So one of the things we do in science is we don't just do our own investigations, we also investigate other people's investigations, okay? So this is what we're doing right now. The initial part is we need to see exactly what he was trying to prove or what his hypothesis was, all right? So what was his hypothesis? What was continental drift? Cat. What was, what did you write under continental drift?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
a hypothesis and then I had
Okay, Teresa, help her out.
Alfred believes that
Perfect. So this hypothesis is that the continents were once joined together and then they drifted apart. Okay? Anybody have anything that was way different than that? No? Okay. So I'm very similar. I put the gradual movement of the continents across the earth. All right? So what I want you to do now is we're going to do a word triangle for continental drift. So on the left-hand side of your page, before you start though, you're going to have 3 items that I want on the left-hand side of your notebook. All right? So I want you to break up your notebook in thirds. And the first one is your triangle. I'm going to bring around an example for you to look at, but I want you to put continental drift up here, and then in your own words what it is, and then I want you to draw a little sketch of it. Okay? Good. Let me give you 2 minutes and see where we're at. 2 minutes to accomplish that. Let's move on. So we know what his hypothesis was now. Okay, so now let's look at his evidence, and let's look at the evidence that he produced, and then so we can start making our decision on whether we're going to accept or reject this hypothesis of his. All right? So there's the first 2 paragraphs that you read. What I want you to do is let's get a little information about Alfred. Okay? Who he is, where he's from, what his background is he legit? Okay? So, next subtopic is Alfred Wegener. I want you to look at those first 2 paragraphs that you just read, and I want you to come up with some key details about Alfred Wegener for your notes, and I want you to write them in your notes, okay? And then be prepared to share out. You have a minute and a half. Okay, pencils down. All eyes on me. Ira, what was the key information that you gleaned from your text that you wrote down in your notes?
Alfred Wegener was a scientist that discovered the
Continental drift hypothesis. Good. Emily, what information did you write down about Alfred Wegener?
Alfred Wegener was a German scientist who studied land.
Okay. Risa, let's hear yours. What you got?
Wait, surely you're the German scientist?
Yep.
Well, in the late 1800s, he began studying the
Good point. Okay, you typically, when you're reviewing literature or reviewing information out of a text, those are good details. You want to know, okay, where he was from, when he started his research, okay, what exactly was his research. So, German scientist, we got that. Started his research in what years, Risa?
late 1800s.
Late 1800s. Okay, and his research was on what? On his hypothesis, continental drift. Okay, awesome. Now, let's look at his evidence. Okay, let's look at this evidence, and then let's just see if we believe that he came up with enough valid evidence to support this hypothesis. Okay, so I want you to put a subtopic of evidence, and the first bit of evidence that we are going to look at that he presented was fossils. Okay, so take 30 seconds and get your notebook set up. I want you to keep in mind, just because something is in a book doesn't mean it's true or that you should accept it. Okay, I want you to critically look at this information that we read. I want you to think about it, and then I want you to determine whether you would accept it if this was some information that was presented to you, okay, and you didn't have any other background in it. Okay. All right. So, on page 15, you can see at the top of the page it says evidence for continental drift. All right? There's 3 pieces of evidence that Alfred presented, okay, for people to support or reject this hypothesis. Okay? And you can see those 3 pieces of evidence, they're bolded. One's fossils, everybody see that?
Yeah.
One's climate, and then the other's geology. All right. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I want you to read the evidence on fossils. Okay? Evidence on fossils. And then I want you to write the evidence that he presented. I want you to look into that evidence, and I want you to write down what important information about that evidence supported his hypothesis of continental drift. Because he obviously felt that evidence was important, right? Or he would not have presented that evidence. So this is evidence that he was hoping that would make people support this hypothesis. Okay? 2 minutes, read that paragraph, write that evidence down about fossils that supported his hypothesis. Okay? All eyes on me in 3, 2, 1. Justin. Okay, what did you guys discuss? What did you write down? What evidence do you think, what evidence did fossils provided him with what he felt would make people support his hypothesis?
Alfred found fossils of an ancient reptile,
Okay.
and that lived when it was like South America, and Africa were once united, like it was there.
Okay.
We found the fossil there.
So he found some fossils in South America and in Africa. Risa, what do you think was important about that evidence that made him feel confident that that's some evidence he should present?
I think he thinks that's good evidence because he's saying that the continents were both together like a long time ago, I guess. And so he's saying that they found the fossils in both South America and Africa. And so if the reptile was found in those 2 places and they were together, it makes sense because they were like in the same place.
Okay. Were those fossils found elsewhere or just in those 2 continents in that particular area? I'm sorry. Richie.
Just in those 2.
Just in those 2 areas. Okay. That seems pretty interesting, right? Thinking back about like the puzzle pieces and how this area kind of looks like it fits there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Risa said, like Richie said, this fossil was found here, and then it was found here, but nowhere else. Okay, so that seems like some decent evidence. All right, probably not enough to convince a lot of people, especially back in the time. Okay. next piece of evidence that he presented was on climate, okay? Next piece. So I want you to subtitle climate. And then I'm gonna give you 2 more minutes, and I want you to do the same. I want you to read the information that's provided on climate, and I want you to write why that information was important, or why Wagner felt that information supported his hypothesis. Okay, 2 minutes. One. Pencils down. Okay. What was the evidence that you thought was important on climate?
Well, he noticed that South of Africa, it was very warm there, but then he noticed that some of the rocks have like sheets of ice, and he realized that I think the other area was once covered with ice too. So maybe when they drifted apart, it took some of the other areas to South Africa.
Okay.
America.
Okay.
Africa. South Africa. There you go.
Pedro. Tie into that. What else? What other information?
Some rocks in Africa were deeply stacked by ice before the Africa was
What was another piece of evidence in there about that? Teresa, what do you got?
That Greenland had once been near the equator and then slowly moved to the Arctic Circle.
Kimberly, why made him think that might have been the case?
Because if it was once near the equator and then it was in the Arctic Circle, it slowly moved away, so he thought that it took place.
What was the evidence that he had that he thought made him just say, I think this is what happened? What was it, Oscar?
He found tropical plant fossils.
Bingo. He found tropical plant fossils where? In Greenland. Where's Greenland at?
Near the ice.
Yeah, it's covered in ice, right? So that's another intriguing fact, is that he found those tropical plants up here where it's ice, right? And then he found evidence of glaciers down here where it's tropical environment where it's hot, okay? So more evidence that he thought would support his hypothesis. Let's move on. Lastly, his last piece of evidence that he used to support his hypothesis was geology, okay? Geology. I want you to take 2 minutes, and once again, last piece of evidence, write down the information that you think was important and why he used it to support his hypothesis. Let's discuss this last piece of evidence. Okay, Kimberly, what did you write down in terms of his geology evidence that he felt was important?
The best evidence came from the rock in the Capricorn. He showed that the type of rock found in Brazil matched the rock found in Brazil.
Okay, good. Samuel, why do you think that was important evidence for him? Or why do you think he felt like that supported his hypothesis? Okay, so the rocks, if they pulled apart the rocks in one area, if they eventually were attached, they should be connected? Recently.
Like that, and also because he's saying that we've got like the rock in South America, in Brazil, is the same as some in Western Africa, and like Brazil is in South America, so it would make sense since he says that Africa and South America are once together, like right next to each other.
Okay. Good. So, if one of the most important pieces of evidence on crime scenes is human DNA, right? If they can find DNA, okay? So when we look at geology, okay, geological DNA would be same type of rocks, right? Limestone and limestone, same type, okay? If they were once together, all right, they should be made of the same type of rock. And I think that's exactly what he was trying to get across with that evidence. So I put up a few pictures, same rock structures on two different continents. Okay, and just like Risa and like Samuel, I think, and I'm not sure who all was saying it, but okay, we had Brazil, and then we had Africa, and there was the same type of limestone, I think is what it said, in those same areas. All right, so right where that puzzle piece looked like it connected, just leave the page, just leave those out there. Just leave them right there. Okay, so right where these look like they fit together, all right, they have the same rock. Okay, this is what I want you to do to conclude this lesson, all right? I'm going to hand you a piece of paper. I want you to put your name on it. What I want you to do is I want you to, right now, with just this 3 pieces of evidence, I want you to write, what evidence did Wegner gather to support his continental drift hypothesis? You're going to summarize that, and I want you to close your notes because I just want you to do it out of your, okay, just what you've learned. And then I want you just to write, with those 3 pieces of evidence right now, would you accept this hypothesis based on that evidence, or would you reject it, and then just, I want to know why, okay? As soon as you get this, I want you to write your name and then answer that question. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to complete your exit ticket.